So I am 3 years into it. Started from the beginning, not knowing anything but what the previous tenant was doing. Just followed his plans to get going, and then tweaked it as I saw things that worked and didn't work.
So then are you like in the kitchen, you're like slinging oysters and whatever seafood that you got to do, or have you found somebody else to do the type of cooking?
It overblew everything. Of course, I wasn't going to be in there at all. I just was going to be a manager. But this is a business that people come and go. They just, some days they're, there, and the next day, where's Johnny? Johnny decided he's not working here anymore. And so you work that day, so I have done everything in there. I've cooked, cleaned, washed dishes. So I've done it all, but my strength is not in that. I'm really good at prepping ahead and like cooking for a family. So on like weekends, I know I have to cook. I'll cook pans of lasagna and, smoke a sirloin prime rib, something that I can do that I can just slice and serve, where the professional chefs and cooks are great at. You get an order, 5 minutes later, you've whipped it up, handed it out. That's not my strength.
So what about the restaurant industry did you learn that you weren't expecting? Like when COVID happens, now all of a sudden you've had to have realized things about the way your business works that you didn't know before.
Well, I realized the way, but COVID was different because there were just so many things became, I don't know, people are scared. There's no way to say that my clientele, people that spend $30 on a seafood dinner, are older and more established people. They got scared more than the younger crowd. So I was sitting there going, I don't have this line of 30, 65-year-olds coming in to buy high dollar meals. So then I had to switch back to a more reasonable lunch fare, and just try to provide something that people can use. I did family home dinners that worked really well, where you did kind of like a KFC type thing, but everything home done, but a bucket of chicken, 2 sides and a dessert, take the whole thing home for $30. That did really well. As far as volume, it wasn't a big money maker, but it kept people employed. Then I started ratcheting that up to a little bit more higher end, and found there was still a market for people to buy seafood. They just, didn't want to sit in a crowded restaurant to do it. So I was able to move into seafood. And like I said, I hear horror stories from the big cities where they shut all the way down and doing 10% of what they did. Mine was never that bad, but 50 or 60% was what I was able to maintain, but you're running on 5 and 10% margins. So you're still running behind.
One of the things that I discovered through coronavirus, for all the people that I know that are running businesses, everything from restaurants to construction to any type of business people are running, the ones that looked at it and said, I've got to change as fast as possible, are the ones that are, I don't know that anybody's flying high right now, but at least the ones that kept their heads above the water. Are you a naturally creative person? Is this something that was like easy for you?
I don't want to come across as saying it was easy, but that is my nature. I don't make schedules. I don't make plans. I don't have a whiteboard. I wake up in the morning and whatever fire I have to put out, I put out, knowing that I can figure it out some kind of way. And so that's why I think I did okay with it, especially at the beginning. Like the first weekend, I just stayed up all night and I was trying to figure out, I'm 5 minutes out of town. I'm on a farm. People were coming to me as a destination restaurant. They've shut that down. I've got to do takeout. What will they drive to take out? And I made the theory that they weren't going to drive up there for an $8 hamburger, one. But if you put, hibachi dinner together where you had rice and chicken and thing in a big aluminum pan, this big, and fed 4 to 6 people, they would drive up there and buy that and go home and feed the whole family. So that was the biggest jump that I did, was just saying, what will people spend money on right now? I can't, in any business, you can't, and that's where the commodity business kind of is a hard one. because you've got a product and they tell you what they'll pay for it. But any other business, you basically is like, I have to create something somebody will exchange money for. And what will they exchange it for more readily? And it's easy to say, yes, if I offer a whole dinner for $25, I could sell as many of them as I want, but I may lose $5 on every meal that I sell. The price point is where it was the hard. It's trying to figure out, yes, I can figure out something people will come get. Now try to figure out how to make money on it. And so that was the way I broke it down was, your business just got exploded. You went from $100,000 a month to nothing. They were going to say you're shut down. And what do I do to keep it from dying? And so the first thing I said is I've got to figure out something people will spend money on. And then after I get that, which was the same way I built the restaurant, is figure out something people wanted to buy and eat. And then after I had them wanting to eat it, then figure out how to make money off of it.
You brought up the point about the commodity grain farmer. Oftentimes has the mentality that the way that I make money is that I work harder than everybody else, or that I eke out a margin by controlling my costs in some way. But at the end of the day, it's about volume. And you're talking about the restaurant business, which has forced you to be entirely creative. So I think it's an interesting dichotomy that you have here because you are a commodity farmer, right?
Yes. Yeah. We had never even done produce until now. And I do now have a son that just graduated college, and he's interested in produce and started that. And we're going to do a produce market on the other side of the parking lot from the restaurant and try to bridge the two together because people are trying to buy local. And if he can sell the meats and the produce and stuff on one side of the parking lot, and they come and buy 6 tomatoes and go, well, I might as well get a sandwich while I'm here. Or if they walk into the restaurant and they, have eaten and that was pretty good, wonder if you got it from over there. And we're hoping that will be where we get to, but it's just hard to do anything, until the world gets moving again.
So how has Virginia been as far as being clear about what rules they want you to follow? Do you think that have they been reasonable rules that you understand?
I am very much an independent thinker, independent person, and I wish I didn't have any rules and let people decide whether they felt safe to do what was available. So my theory was, I open the restaurant, people will decide whether it's worth their risk and time to come to it. But of course, government being government, they decided they were going to lock it down. We were lucky. I don't tease, but you're talking about this with everybody all the time, is we really didn't have a first wave bad. We had it in our area, which is rural from the big cities, about 50 minutes out of Richmond, an hour and a half from DC, hour and a half from Virginia Beach, Norfolk. We had COVID, but we had COVID that people caught somewhere and came back home with. It wasn't like everywhere. So you heard of somebody getting it, but it wasn't. That was, last spring and summer. So to me at that point, it was like, this is all just, wasteful. The world is shut down and there's no reason for it to be. There's 8 people with it in our county. This fall and winter, it actually made it to our area, I think, and it became more of a thing that was passed from person to person, and it never got overwhelming here. Not that it doesn't overwhelm the individuals that get it. I don't want to make light of it, but it wasn't an overwhelming thing where, half your workforce was out or, whatever. Somebody gets exposed, you find out whether they exposed anybody else. They stay home week, 10 days, or until they get a negative test. That type of stuff is just, you had to follow the rules. Now, the one thing they did do is we have a pretty strong health department, and they pretty much said, if you don't do what we tell you, we're going to pull your license. And a couple of people tried that and they pulled the license, and just, in a court 8 months later trying to figure it out. But I was smart enough not to fight that system, that once they pull your health license, it's going to be hard to function as a business in the long term.
Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you like this interview, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you always get notified about this podcast. And if you're really interested in conversations like this, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. To find out more, go to network.articulate.ventures.